Greetings, Earthlings and fellow beaten knights. I'm just hunkering down here in Clan McMuffin headquarters in Knoxville, Tennessee. I've been trying to keep myself busy. The recent launch of the SpaceX Falcon rocket, taking two Americans back to the International Space Station, gave me brief hope that perhaps I could hitch a ride and get away from this COVID thing we've got going on. The International Space Station, the moon, and beyond, great. But then I came back down to Earth and realized if I could just find a COVID-free Kroger, I'd be really happy. Well, so the next few months here on Earth are going to be more of the same that we've had. However, if you want to look to the heavens between now and the end of the year, there's some exciting things going on. So what we're looking at here on the screen is a program called Stellarium Web. It's available as a web app, and I'll put together a little introduction to that if you want to be able to do this yourself. So we see up here, we're looking at the night sky. Down here in the corner is a clock and calendar, and it says right here we're looking at tonight's on 6/11 sky at 22 p.m., 10 p.m. And this is what you'll see if you walk out and look toward the south. You notice here we've got west, south, east way over here to the left. And then this red line along here is what astronomers call the ecliptic. This is the plane that the sun rotates in, and that all the planets, with the exception, well, Pluto's not a planet, so we won't talk about that. All the planets are orbit the sun in this plane. So as we go along, we'll see the planets come up along here. If we were looking at today, the sun would be following this same plane, and the moon is in the same plane as it orbits the Earth. So we'll see it move along here. So we're going to take a little time travel here over the next several months. We're going to be looking at 10 o'clock at night, 10 p.m. This should look very similar wherever you may be here in the United States of America. If the sun doesn't quite set, you can go out an hour later and be able to see it. And if I have time when I get through, maybe we'll look at the early morning sky, because there's things going on there too that we can't see at this time of night. So I'm just going to start moving this ahead a day at a time, and you'll see things start to move. The ecliptic moves through the seasons, and you'll notice here we are at 6:27. So pay attention to the date over here. This will you can always stop the video and pick up this date when you want to see what's going on. We see all of a sudden Jupiter and Saturn start rising in the east, and the moon is it rises in the east, but over the month at the same time of night it will travel from west to east across the sky. And so you can see here on July 5th we've got a very close conjunction of all of the two planets and the moon. Now that's going to be so low on the sky that you probably will have to be in a building to see it, or on top of a mountain without any trees. But that's the first one we come to. So let's just keep going. We'll keep seeing Jupiter and Saturn continuing to travel east, from east to west as the month goes on. Here comes the moon again, coming up from the west, and then here on August 1st, we see a nice conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. The moon looks like it's probably maybe it's 3/4, so it's going to be quite bright, and but I doubt it will wash out Saturn and Jupiter. They're very bright in the sky. So here and then the next night you get another, not as nice, but certainly you can continue to see them going, and then as we go on through August. Here now we see the ecliptic is moving. I'm going to get us back and catch up here so we can see what's going on. And so as we continue to go through the sky, or through the month, here comes the moon again. And once more, here we are on August 28th. It looks like we've got about a half moon, and a nice conjunction here with the sun, with the Saturn and Jupiter. And again, on the 29th, you've got another that's, you still have a nice conjunction. Now, let me just say, depending on where you live, these times are still pretty good, whether you live in Minnesota or whether you're out in California. The only problem may be if the sun is not quite down, you may want to wait till an hour later. And if you wait till an hour later, these will have moved a little bit across the sky, but not significantly. So here we go on through August. Now, here as we go into September, we notice all of a sudden over here we've got the moon and Mars. Now, you have to really be lucky to see this. It's so low on the horizon. But so now we've got Mars all of a sudden coming up behind Jupiter and Saturn. And then following close on Mars' heels is Uranus. Now, you're not going to be able to see Uranus without a telescope. That's just not observable with the naked eye. So as we go here, we're moving through September. Here comes the moon again. And on September 24th, you've got a nice conjunction of the moon and Jupiter and Saturn. And Saturn, this is Saturn here. The other bright dot is not, for some reason, it's not. It's lost its label there, but that's it. So we're moving on. There you see it pop back up. And as we go on through the month, then over here, here on 10/2, we get a really, really close conjunction between the moon and Mars. However, you'll notice the moon is almost full. So Mars may be washed out. It may not be very seeable, but you should be able to see it on either side as the moon is approaching and as the moon pulls away. Now going on through, let's just keep moving, and here we're coming up into October, middle of October. And unfortunately, Saturn and Jupiter are getting very low on the horizon. And here comes the moon on October 22nd. The moon is about in its first quarter, so it should be quite, if you can see it, if you don't have a tree line or buildings or something, you might be able to see it. Moving on through October, and once again we start coming up on Mars, and so on the 28th and 29th you get a couple of conjunctions again with Mars. The moon is about 3/4 by this time, and it might be hard to pick Mars out in the bunch. But as you can see, as we go through the rest of this year, we've got Saturn, Jupiter, Mars in the sky. And also here as we get into November, my buddy Orion is beginning to rise on the eastern skyline with red Betelgeuse coming up. He's one of the most recognizable, at least to me, constellations in the sky. So here's we go through November. Here comes the moon again, and again on November 25th here, we have a nice conjunction with the moon. The moon looks like it's a little past half full, and moving on through November. Unfortunately, the sky is beginning to kind of clear out here as we get into December. Now we're moving into the middle, getting toward Christmas. Here again on the 23rd of December, you've got another nice conjunction with Mars and the moon. Here we got Orion high in the sky, in the southern sky, and Sirius, the dog star, and Canis Major following behind, Sirius being the brightest star in the sky. Very, very recognizable at this point. And just moving on through the end of the here, now we're coming up on, let's just go ahead, we'll go into January, because we still continue to have Mars in the sky. So we get toward the middle of January. There's January 20th, 21st. You've actually got Mars and Uranus in conjunction, but again, you can't see Uranus. I'm sure the astronomers will be really excited about that. And as you see, Mars is beginning to precess just a little bit and go backwards, which it does in the sky. There we go again. Now we're into November. At this point, let's stop. We'll worry about that when the end of the year comes back. So let's take a quick look at the morning sky, because you're going to see some nice morning sky. I've hit this button and it's brought me back to real time, which you can see I'm sitting here. It's almost 11:30. It's getting close to lunch, so I'm going to have to move this on today. So let's move this up to. Oh, excuse me. I want to move this back up. First, let's move it up to the 12th, because what I want to do is look at tomorrow morning. We're going to look at it at about, let's leave it here at 4:18 tomorrow morning. So so you need to be, if you're an early morning riser, then you really need to be looking toward the south and the southeast in the early morning. So this is 4:18. You got to be careful if you wait too long. I mean, if we go too far forward, we start getting into sunrise and this gets washed out. Let me point out here, you probably have noticed this going by. This is the Milky Way. Now, if you live far enough out from the city lights, you should be able to see it. I hadn't really had a good opportunity to see the Milky Way in years because I lived in the city. But growing up, it was something that I saw quite often. So here we are at 4:18 tomorrow morning, 6:12. And you'll see here we've got Jupiter and Saturn over here due south, above the horizon, well above the horizon. But then we got this conjunction over here with Mars and the Moon. So if you're up in the morning, if you're an early morning riser, Pam, there it is. You'll see it. So let's move ahead one day, and on the 13th, again, it's even a closer conjunction. So let's just move through here quickly. As we move through June, we come up into here comes July. Here we are at the 5th of July. The moon, which looks like it's almost full, is coming up on Jupiter and Saturn. And then on the 6th of July, you get a nice little triangular configuration here. Moving on. We come in, this is the 11th of July and the 12th. We get the Mars and the Moon again in conjunction. Let me just, I want to see if this is what I think this is. No, that's a star. I thought that was something else. So let's move on through. No, that's not a star right there. This is oh, that's Venus coming up. Excuse me. So as we move into late July, Venus starts to rise and will become then the morning star in the east. And here we have a nice conjunction of this is almost a new moon in Venus, which is coming up in the east. And of course, Venus will be the brightest object in the sky other than the moon. So let's go on through. Here we're coming up on August. And here comes the moon. So here we are on August 2nd. Now this is going to be low on the western horizon, southwestern horizon. May not be viewable. But as we move through the month, here we come. Mars and the moon are almost on top of each other on the 9th. You might want to certainly look at it one day either side. And then as we go through August, we'll get this nice conjunction here of the moon. If we go to the 16th, you'll have, the moon's done moved off. Excuse me. It's moved off quite a bit. I was hoping maybe you'd see the crescent moon cupping Venus, but that's not going to quite work like that. So let's go on. So we're moving through the middle of August, and we just totally lost Saturn and Venus. I mean Saturn and Jupiter in the morning sky. Here we come with the moon coming back up, full moon again, almost on top of Mars on the 6th of September. Moving on off. Of course, Saturn doesn't Venus doesn't rise and go across the sky. It comes up, goes back down, and then as it comes around, then it comes back up and around as a morning star. So Here's on the, oh, excuse me, this is the morning star. We're looking east. I apologize. I've been saying evening star. This is the morning star. This is a nice little conjunction with a crescent moon and Venus here at 4:18 in the morning on September 14th. So as we go on, we see Venus falling below the horizon, but you still have Mars high in the sky. This is October, 1st of October. Nice conjunction there on the 3rd. We keep going. And we get another one here on at the end of October. It's not quite on top of it, so it might not wash it out. Again, the moon is quite full here. Here we're going through November, and at this point, Mars is going to have what's going to be below the horizon at 4:18. So that's pretty well the end of the planets for early morning. Of course, you'll have Horizon sitting in the south and Sirius. You can't hardly miss that. And if you want to look off from Orion here, you'll see a little V out here, which is Taurus, and then on past that, you'll see the Pleiades, sometimes called the Seven Sisters. So, and that will be in the sky through the winter. So, so as Orion has been rising this way, the Pleiades will be very, very prominent. And so that's the night sky here for the remainder of this year. It's at least it's a bright spot, no pun intended, in all these times. And I hope you'll stay up late. I know some folks 10 o'clock is late. You can stay up to 11. It'll probably be darker. Even everything will be a little bit higher on the horizon mainly. Or if you get up early, you can step out in the early morning. Just be sure to button up when it starts getting cold. So if you enjoy doing this, I'm going to put up a little brief introduction to Stellarium, how to get to it and how to basically operate it so you can do what I'm doing. And there's some nice little tricks, and so we'll cover that there. Hope you spend the rest of this year at night, in the early morning, looking up in the sky and being thankful for what we do have. And until later, stay safe, hunker down. Bye-bye.